Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We got a live Q&A session kicking off here, and our topic is how to basically the easiest way to price lawn mowing and landscaping services. So, for those of you that are new to this, we do basically live Q&As. Caleb and I, we jump on, I think, the second Saturday of every month. Sometimes when I have a little bit extra time, I'll jump on, do solo Q&As. But yeah, this is for you guys. So feel free in the comments below to put any of the questions that you have. Normally we would do like kind of like or normally I would do like a teaching topic and then do Q&A at the end. But I think I'm just going to kind of free flow it today. So all of you people that are spending a Saturday with me, thank you. And hopefully this is helpful for you. So I'll put up the banner at the bottom, put your comments in the comment section below. So that way they can get answered. So I wanted to start off with a little bit of a story. And this story is a true story. And it was basically in the beginning when I first was figuring out our business and pricing. We were starting to dabble in other things. So, in the beginning, we just got started like mowing lawns. And I think which is like how most people get started. It's really easy. You just grab a mower and put out some flyers and you can get pretty much a handful of customers. But we started to kind of take it to the next level. We got, the vinyl stickers on the truck and we started to establish ourselves. We started to get a Facebook page. We started to get a website. And then all of a sudden we started dabbling into additional services. And so that opened up a whole can of learning curves. And what I mean by that is, we started adding like tree trimming. We started doing edging borders. We started doing like rock installs. We started doing sod. And basically everything under the landscape realm of things we started to offer. And so, which I think is normal for most entrepreneurs and new business owners and managers to be like, hey, we can make more money. Let's add more services, right? It makes sense. However, we learned very, very quickly that that isn't necessarily the best way to really grow a business and scale, especially if your goal is to ideally one day have the business run without you. You really want to build systems and implement processes so that way, it can run without you and not be the bottleneck. And that's what I was for a while, was the bottleneck. And so there was a new customer of ours that asked us, and they were like, hey, do you guys do sod? And we were like, yeah, we definitely do sod. And in the beginning days, we only did, I believe it was really like small sod jobs. So like just kind of like patchwork, sides of houses where there's shade, things like that. Really probably only like $200 to $300 sod jobs. Like that's the most that we did. But this particular job was a entire front yard. Like they wanted the entire front yard resodded. And so I was like, all right, yeah, let's do it. Like let's dive into the numbers, figure this out. I've never done this before. And I didn't have like somebody there holding my hand, walking me through the whole process. So I went out there, looked at the job, took some measurements, measured things, and came to the conclusion that this job is going to take me it's going to cost, with profit included and all that. One day, it's going to be one day job, and we're going to make $1,300 on this job. And so that's what it was. We gave the quote to the customer, $1,300. And yeah, it doesn't end well. So basically what happened, and the team member at the time was phenomenal that I had. He was like a go-getter. He was so quick. We would get out there and like crush jobs. So I'm like, yeah, man, this we'll be done with this in a day. And this ended up turning into a 2-day project. And I remember being out there after the first day, and I was like, oh my goodness, we're like only halfway through this job. Like, this is crazy. And we had already like done dump runs twice because the dirt that we were rototilling up on the sod job was like so much dirt, and we had to like pull that stuff out, that we needed to like run all of that to the basically dump. And um it was very I basically shot myself in the foot, all right, on this job. And I remember by the second day, it was so demoralizing. I was like, man, like this is horrible. But the what I learned through that process was invaluable. And what I learned was, there is a price for real life education. Just like people go to school or you pay for a training course on a particular subject, there is a price to pay to get the education. And so I learned very well that ideally I should have been charging about $2,500 for that job, and I only charged $1,300. So, long story short, we did not make money on that, but I learned an invaluable lesson, and I realized how much time a sod job, big sod job, actually entails. And so from then, we were able to, quote our jobs properly and things of that nature. But for today's topic, I wanted to share that story with you guys because it's important that you guys understand how to price. And so I have my handy dandy remarkable here. Let me see if I can share this with you guys. That way you guys can follow along here on the screen. And again, this is more of an interactive thing. So if you guys have questions, definitely put them in the comments below, and I will make sure that they get answered. So let's go ahead and pull up Remarkable. See if I can share my screen with you guys. We can go through this together. All right. Sorry for the slight delay here. All right. Looks like it's trying to pull up. Okay, perfect. Here we go. Accept. All right. We're getting closer. Let me throw this up on the screen. We want to present, and we want to screen share our Remarkable. All right. Can you guys see that? So let's go ahead and jump into this. So this is going to be, let me zoom out a little bit. How to price jobs. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this. If not, let me know in the comments. All right. How to price jobs. This is the most important thing. And the reason why I want to go over this right now, there's really two things. So we're getting ready down here in North Texas to go into our fall cleanups, where there's a lot of projects, there's a lot of leaf cleanups. And quite frankly, I get asked this so much. Like people are like, dude, how do you price like a leaf cleanup job? Do I just give them one set price and do it each like week or month or biweekly? Or do I just do like one-time cleanups and go from there? Because depending on if the wind blows or the weather, there could be a lot more leaves next week when you get there. So like, how do you price accurately without losing money? That's number one. Number two, Christmas light season is coming up, and snow removal. So anybody that is in that kind of industry, it's going to be really important that you guys understand how to price jobs. So to start, there are two basically big factors here of like pricing jobs. Number one is coming up with basically we call them over the phone, so OTP. So this would be ideally like you having some kind of price matrix or preset number because of the consistency for like mowing, right? Or weed control. Like it's very consistent. It doesn't fluctuate. So over the phone estimates are the fastest, easiest way to get the price to the customer, and it will increase your close ratio significantly because of the speed factor of that. Now, we don't always get the luxury of that when you're talking leaf cleanup, snow removal, and Christmas. While Christmas lights could be considered actually, if you build the system around it, you could probably do that over the phone as well. But what about like landscape projects, trimming bushes, sod installs, things of that nature? So this is where, you would ideally have to do more of an in-person quote here. All right. So where you're actually going out to the property and getting eyes on the job, because there are so many variables that can fluctuate for example, let's take sod. Okay, sod or yeah. Let's take sod. Depending on where you're actually installing the sod and where you can park the vehicle and drop the pallets, will dictate like significantly the price. All right. If you have to resod an entire backyard, it will be more expensive for the same amount of square foot that you would if you had to do a front yard. It will be more expensive to do the backyard. Why? Because you don't have easy access. You can't park the vehicle right there. Um, the front yard is just going to be easily accessible and a lot quicker with your work. So, really, in-person quotes is going to be the key factor there. So, once you've identified what your main like identification or approaches for your pricing, the next thing that you're going to want to look at. So in the beginning days, the first way that we actually charge customers. So and I'm going to use today. We're mainly going to be talking about the in-person one, like getting eyes on the property. You don't have like a set matrix because you don't do it as often, and there's just a lot of fluctuations with it. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So we're really going to be focusing on the in-person, the variable type of job that changes constantly. All right. So the first way that you can actually quote is by giving the customer a set labor price. So in the beginning, when we were doing landscape jobs, we actually told the customer, hey, customer, when we come out to do your property, we basically charge $60 per hour. And based on how long the job takes, that's what it would be. And that's what we literally told them. And they're like, well, what happens if they aren't quick? Or what happens if they're taking lots of breaks on the property? We would just simply say, look, if they stop and they get back into the truck to take a break or a water break, they clock that break and it's not included in the labor time. Also, our customer or our employees are very, very efficient. Why? They're professionals. They do this every day. This is not the first bush that they've ever trimmed, like a homeowner, to where like the homeowner in their mind, it's like, oh, that'll probably be an hour. Well, for us and our crews, it's probably like half that time because we're so efficient and we do it each day, each week. And so they have more repetitions with it. So this is one way that you can actually do that. And it would fix you having to go out and do like an in-person, ideally, quote. You just tell them over the phone for a leaf cleanup, hey, it's going to be this much, and then whatever your disposal costs are. Now, here's the problem with this type of quoting. The problem is in the mindset of the customer, because they don't do this that often, there's a big diversion of time allotted that they think the job's going to take. If they have a ton of leaves in the backyard, they're like, oh my goodness, this is going to take me a half day. Right. And they're going to be like, oh, okay, that's 4 hours, 4 times 60, that's $240. It's going to be $240 to clean up all these leaves. But with our efficiency and the tools that we have in the equipment, it might only take us 2 hours. And so by doing this type of quoting over the phone, it actually hinders you by gaining more jobs. It saves you the time and hassle of having to go out and actually like get eyes on the property to look at the things. But yeah, it definitely poses a problem for the mindset of how long the customer thinks it's going to take to versus what it's actually going to take. All right. So the second way, and this is what we do. This is what we have transitioned to, just so everybody knows. So we actually do. We call them drive-bys. They're basically in person. We try not to always meet with the customer because we've tried to simplify our services tremendously. That way we don't have to always talk to the customer, but we do drive-bys. Basically means our estimator is going to come out to the customer's property. They're going to get out of the vehicle and they're going to do a walkthrough of the property of what was itemized. Hey, they want leaf removal in the back, or they want their bushes trimmed up front, or the beds de-weeded. And they're going to look at the job and say, okay, there's when you're first starting out, there's 3 different areas, right? You could do a quarter day, you could do a half day, or you could do a full day. And you basically want to look at this job and be like, is this if based on one person, one crew, how long would this job take me? And so a lot of the times our jobs would fall underneath that 2-hour category. But the most simplest, easiest way in the beginning is to just do a quarter, half, or full day for quotes. Once you get good at it and you do it often, then you can get fancy with it and go hour and a half or an hour, 1.75, which is an hour and 45 minutes. And you can kind of get a little fancy with that, right? But what this does is you identify the budgeted hours for the actual job. All right. The reason why this is so important is because now you know exactly how long that job is supposed to take. All right. So when you're scheduling your jobs, you can look at your budgeted hours. All right. You back in the day when we used to do it this way, I would have no idea how long jobs would take. We were so unorganized. We'd be like, yeah, customer, it's going to be 60 per hour. And they'd be like, okay. And we'd go out there and sometimes it takes us 1 hour and sometimes it takes us 4 hours. But I didn't know how many jobs to put on the cruise routes because I didn't know the budgeted hours. So budgeted hours is very, very important. And I know when you're just getting started, you don't know how long the job is going to take. And that's okay. It's okay to lose money on the first job or two. That's part of growing the business. Instead of you paying money for a training course, a $200, $300 training course to learn how to quote jobs or do landscaping services, just get the real life education. And you're going to shoot yourself in the foot and you're going to quote $100 and it should have been $300. That's okay. All right. Just get the experience, get the reps. So that way you can begin to start to quote consistently. Now, what I will tell you is that, sorry about that. All right. What I will tell you is that when you do this, what is most important and what we learned in our beginning days is to not spread yourself too thin. In the beginning, we did sod, we did tree trimming, we did rock install, we did flower bed edging borders, we did planting, we did it all, mowing, weed control, bush trimming, de-weeding beds. And all of a sudden we had 10 different services plus 10 plus different services that we were doing. It's very difficult for you to figure out and pay for your hard knocks costs of living and lose money on each job to figure out what your budget hours is when you have over 10 services. So dial it back at the end of this year, sit down and look at, okay, what are my top 5 services that I make the most money on? The top 5. Focus on those next year. Drop the bottom 5. Like the bottom 3 to 5 that you only have 1 or 2 or 5% of your revenue, just get rid of them. Literally, just get rid of them. Focus on the core services that make you the most money. And you will find that when you are out doing your in-person estimates, you are going to get so repetitive and so consistent at your pricing because you're going to do the job a lot more. In the beginning days when we were offering sod, so what you got to understand also, sod is kind of like a seasonal thing, like spring and fall. You don't really want to sod like mid-August when it's 105 degrees because you got to water it in real well. And typically it's a drought type season. And typically, there's watering restrictions. So where I'm getting at with this is when we offered sod, we found ourselves only doing it like 6 months out of the year. And it wasn't that many. Like we would go out and do like the demand for sod in our area is not like people aren't resodding their houses every day, every week, or every month. It's like maybe one every like 4 years. They're like, they need more sod. So the demand for that service was not as high as it was for, let's say, bush trimming. Bush trimming, things grow and you're going to need, a lot of bush trimming throughout the year, at least twice, maybe 3 times a year. They're going to need their bushes trimmed. So 3 times a year versus 1 every 4 years. Although, you can make a lot more money on that, but this is more recurring. It's more consistent. It's more reliable. And so, this one I only have to sell once and ideally retain the customer for X amount of years, 3 to 5 years. And I have 3 basically bush trimmings every year. This one, I have to go out and find new customers every 4 years and, hope they accept and things like that. So, hopefully that kind of helps as far as like the pricing goes. What I will tell you that anybody that is watching this video, in all of my YouTube videos on the YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel, I have a mowing, I believe, and ideally weed control is included in that too. If you are looking to do weed control, it's completely free. I built a training course on how to price mowing services. All right. I would highly recommend going to, it's in the description of all of the videos that I post on my YouTube channel. Just go to that. It's a free course. In fact, I give you our blueprint. Like if you are doing 9,000 turf square foot lawns and below, I'm talking push mowers, like small residential properties, I give you the blueprint that took us like 3 years to build of all of the data. Because when you are having to figure out your pricing matrix and your budgeted hours for jobs like mowing and things like that, you need data. You need to be clocking in on your CRM on every single visit, whether it's a one man or a two man crew. Like you have to clock in, do the job, clock out. And it fluctuates, but whether it's a 2,000 turf square foot lawn or 7,000 turf square foot lawn, but the principle behind it is also very important. So whether you're doing larger lawns like half acre, quarter acre, or full acres, you could still use the concept and build your own blueprint. I go through a video of that nature and everything, and share that for you guys. So hopefully this helps you guys. If it does, let me know. But I don't see any comments in the comment section, guys. This is a Q&A. I'm here to answer your questions. We got 7 people live right now that are watching. Let me jump over to Facebook and see if there are any questions. That way I can help you guys grow a more successful lawn and landscape business. I'm here for you guys for the next 30 minutes. Unless we don't have any questions, then I'll wrap it up early. But let me take a look here to see if we got any questions on the Facebook side of things. All right, so we got quite a couple people watching over here. And let me see if I got some questions here. All right, I don't see any questions. Leo says, great advice. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Yeah. Pricing is one of those things that I get asked so many times, like in the beginning, like, how do I price this job? And like, I mean, you guys are in all the Facebook groups, I'm sure, of like, people will like post a picture or a video of the job and it'll be like waist high for, for like mowing. And they'll be like, guys, how long is this going to take? And it's like, we don't know. You know what I mean? Like you gotta like that's a scenario where it's like first time cuts is a variable. It's a fluctuating visit, right? It's like you don't know if it's going to be waist high or knee high or shin high on that first cut. And it's like until you've done 10 of those at least, you're probably not even going to be in the ballpark of like, hey, this is probably how long it's going to take, 4 to 6 hours, depending on the size or, whatever. So, yeah, it's if you guys, like I said, if you guys are looking at getting a pricing blueprint, it's in all of my YouTube videos in the description below. I think it's called Mowing Pricing Blueprint. And take advantage of that, guys. Like it's Larissa built that data over the past 3 years. What's also really nice about it is it's not just for solo man teams, it's also for 2-man teams. So it's combined actually. And that allows you, because just so you guys know, in the summertime, we run 2-man teams in all of our trucks to get full staff. And then in the wintertime, we go down to single man trucks. So 6 months, 7 months out of the year, we're 2-man crews. And then the other, like whatever's left, 3 to 4 or 5 months, that is like solo drivers and everything like that. So what's nice is that takes that into consideration, because I know people will ask me and they'll be like, hey, will that pricing blueprint, is it based on a 1-man or a 2-man? It's both. And so you can use it for both, because obviously in the summertime, the lawns will fluctuate as long as it takes versus like if it's fall or winter time. because it's a little cooler, you can move quicker, things like that. But it is the average over the last 12 months. All right. So Robert Bradford says, do you have zero turn mowers? So Robert, we do not. Um, right now, I did actually go out and I went on Facebook Marketplace. That's where I don't do this anymore. I used to buy all of our like used equipment on there. And I found this guy that had a 32-inch Skag ride-on mower, stand-on, and I went out to him. And funny enough, he actually lives in a similar neighborhood as the one that I'm in with small residential. And he owned a lawn care company for like 5 years. And I'm like, hey man, like, so you still own your business? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm like, so you still mow these size lawns? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, so why are you selling your 32-inch Skag stand-on? And he's like, because honestly, the customers, not a lot of them like it, or not all. There are some customers that don't like it because it's so heavy, especially when it's wet. It can rut it up. And then the other thing is, he said that he was doing more turning than actually mowing. And so when he told me that, I was like, okay, then this doesn't make sense to buy this because I was like, trying to care for our guys. I know it's not as physical, but to be honest, we just use 21-inch push mowers now. We've entertained the 30-inch mower concept, and it's very bulky and it's heavy, and it's a shoulder workout on the 30-inch mowers. And so, you know, again, our lawns are like 2 to 3,000 turf square feet. So honestly, the 21-inch mowers they work well. They're very quick, they're very easy, they're lighter. They are still heavy, but yeah, we just use the 21-inch push mowers. I don't think zero turns are a bad thing. I think, to be honest, all of our lawns, so we do basically all small residential, are under 8,500 turf. And um, I think if your like majority of your lawns are anything over probably 9,000 turf square feet, I would highly, highly recommend considering a zero turn. But you want to look at the bulk of it, and a lot of people when they're just getting started. So here's a quick crash course for you. So Robert, and I know this is a really long-winded question, but I'm buying time for people to ask more questions. So, in the beginning, when most people start their lawn businesses, don't they don't know what they don't know, and they're just trying to make money. So like they'll get a zero turn, they obviously have push mowers. I mean, that's like simple. They may get a 32-inch Skag, or not Skag, a 32-inch stand on, or a 36 or a 30, and they'll get a variety of and they'll have a variety of different properties that they do. Like, I know when we first started, it was so funny. Um, I would say 90% of our lawns were small residential, but we did have like a quarter acre property, some half acre properties, and then there was a subdivision that was near our house that had 1 acre properties. And we were like, yeah, like let's do it. Like we'll get 3 people out there with push mower. It's money, and we can do it. And then ideally, eventually down the road, maybe we can buy a zero turn. But what we found is, number one, it would just kill the guys push mowing like three. Obviously, we wouldn't have one person do it, but like we would chunk it up. It would get like 3 people out there, 2 to 3 people with like a push mower, and just like cut it, because that's all we had. And we didn't want to go out and spend 6 or 7 grand on a zero turn for one property that had a 1 acre property. It would make more sense to drop the 1 acre property and then just focus our time, energy, and marketing efforts on the small residential properties, which is exactly what we did. We said, look, this doesn't make sense. We have less than a handful of customers, maybe 3 or 4, that have like larger lots. The other 90%, are small residential. And like out of that handful, there was like 1 or 2 like little bit bigger commercial properties that we were doing. And again, we were like, commercial, it's like 98% of our customers were residential. Why are we entertaining the commercial? Well, it's nice revenue in the wintertime, right? Because like it's a 12-month contract and they can pay you through the winter, but like that's just not our bread and butter. So try to figure out what like, if you are going to get a zero turn, figure out like if you're going to use it a lot, or if that's kind of like what your market demands for, you know. So good question. All right, mindless sheep says living in northern Wisconsin. Oh, brother, it's cold up there. We can't get away with small mowers and push mowing everything. Okay, we can't get away with small mowers and push mowing everything. 90% of people here use sit down zero turns. Most places are 10K plus square feet. All right. So in that scenario, mindless sheep, um, you would definitely want to look at getting a zero turn. All right. And I know in the beginning, you probably don't have a lot of funds, okay, or money if you're like me. And I'm just assuming here. But the the reason why it's so nice if it's small residential is because like a push mower, like I remember getting our first one, it was $100 off Facebook Marketplace, and it's like, all right, I'm in the game. Like $100 down, I'm in the game. Or maybe you have a mower at the house. Like if you own even like a John Deere residential one, like just start with that. Like you don't need to get a zero turn. I remember when I was starting off, when I was like 13, um, I lived in a neighborhood that had 2.5 acre properties, and I had a John Deere residential mower, and I would go to the neighbors and be like, "Hey, can I mow your lawn for like $50 at the time?" Um, obviously times have changed, but yeah, just I, I'm very like cautious on like trying to give advice to people to like go out and buy a $8,000 to $10,000 piece of equipment when you're just getting started. Utilize maybe Facebook Marketplace. Maybe you have a neighbor, or maybe you can make friends with another like lawn care company in your area, and then like rent the mower from the guy on the weekends and be like, look, you have a zero turn, you use 5 days a week. Can I rent it out on a Saturday for like $100 for like a few hours, and then just cut all of your lawns on Saturday? That way you don't have to spend 8 to 10 grand up front. Or, yeah, I was gonna say you could go the financing option, but I don't like debt. We built our company completely debt free, so I'm not gonna advise that. I just like sleeping well at night. So, all right. Let's see. We got a couple more comments here. Again, if you guys have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments below. We'll go ahead and get them answered for you. Okay. So it says, yeah, no doubt. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm slacking, man. You guys got to keep me in check. You guys got to keep me in check, man. Oh, my goodness. I've been reading these questions and not putting them on the screen. I need you guys as assistants. You guys got to keep me in check next time and be like, Will, you're not putting the comments and the questions on the screen for everybody to see. All right. I need you guys' help here. All right. So, yeah, no doubt it's daunting. I'm saving up this entire winter for the other equipment, and then I'm going to take a little debt getting a zero turn in the spring and market to only these gigantic. Yeah. Good job, man. Like it sounds like you're really thinking through it. You don't want a lot of debt. A little is probably okay at the beginning, but as quickly as you could just pay that off, like all that money that you make once it's paid off is like your money. So like just try to like do what you can, get by. You could always rent it. But yeah, you got options. So there's places here. All right. Mindless sheep. Working for another company right now, but I'd like to start my own thing. So love channels like this. Yeah, that's big, man. Um, and I mean you could pick up some lawns on the side. What I would do if your boss is cool, like me, this is what I do with our guys. Because I'm not opposed to them like using the equipment outside of work. You could be like, hey boss man, can I borrow the mower? Like, I mean, you don't necessarily have to tell them what it's for. Or you just say like, hey man, like I want to mow my own lawn and then maybe like my neighbors, but like, is there a way that we could pay a day rate for the equipment on a Saturday from you and rent the equipment from you? That way, yeah, maybe you can start on the side and pick up a couple of lawns. So that way, you can get the jobs done. And What we do at our company is we actually do let the team rent out equipment like weed eaters and edgers, like if they need it for their house and stuff. We don't really charge them much. It's really just to cover the fuel costs and like the wear and tear on it. But yeah, we do like $5 or $10 a day. They can take the weed eaters home with them and use it for their personal use, which is pretty cool. All right. Mindless Sheep says, funny you say that. I actually borrowed my work's push mower to mow my grandparents' lawn today. My boss is super cool. Yeah, there you go, man. Like, just ask him if they're really cool about it. And sometimes, like, depending on their insurance, maybe they'll let you take the truck home. I don't know. Or, but there needs to be a kind of win-win relationship, right? Like, maybe stay extra sharpen blades. Ask him, hey, is there anything like I can help you out with when you're done with your routes? And like, like create that relationship before just asking for stuff. Like try to build a relationship where you give value first to that boss. And then I'm sure he'll try to give value to you too. Like if you need to borrow the truck on a Saturday, or maybe you need a trailer to get the zero turn home and things like that. But all right, Robert Bradford. So, what are the best push mowers? What do you think about self propelled mowers? So, if you're looking, whether it's residential or commercial use, I would highly 1000% get a self propelled push mower. If we're talking strictly push mowers, all right. And I've used a handful of them over the years. Um, there is an argument or a debate that depending on your climate, that residential ones are easier and better. There is an argument for that. And I would agree that there is an argument, but I'm not agreeing with that statement. Why do I say that? Because if you're in temperatures where it's 105 degrees, like Texas in the summer, June, July, August, having a self-propelled residential, and when I say residential, guys, I'm talking high-end residential. I'm not talking the cheap, rinky-dinky, cheap mowers. I'm talking like maybe a Honda mower, on the top end residential, right? The deck size is lighter, so that way it's not as heavy. And when it's really, really hot, it's way easier on the guys and you out push mowing. Now, the flip side of that, here's the downfall of it, especially if you have team members and employees. For whatever reason, they tend to beat these things up, my brothers. All right. Like they just don't treat it like their own. And I don't expect them to, but I expect them to, not deteriorate the thing super quick. But the residential mowers will break faster and easier. And so for us, we use Toro 21-inch commercial mowers. They are a bit heavier, so you don't get the luxury of the lightness in June, July, August. But durability wise, these things are tanks. All right. There's literally metal rods that stick out on some of our lawns, and guys have literally run over them with the 21-inch turf or commercial Toro mowers and have hit steel rebar sticking out of the ground, and it just dents the blade. It doesn't like break the brake shaft or the crankshaft on the mowers. Like for whatever reason, they're just tanks. The wheels are more durable, they're hotter, things like that. I did have a Honda mower back in the day, and we had an employee that actually ran over a steel like box that was in a electricity box that was in the ground, and the corner of it was sticking out, and he ran over it on with the Honda push mower. Completely broke the crankshaft on the mower, and the mower was toast. Like it was about a $900 mower, and it was only like a year old. Like the mower was like a year old, and when it hit it, it was done. It was done for. So I haven't had that problem with the Toro 21-inch commercial mowers. Also, if you have team members, okay, here, I'll tell you this. If it's just you, the idea, although the Honda, I think, is going out of business, so the parts might be a little bit more difficult to get, but contingent on that not happening, the Hondas are like the Cadillacs for 21-inch push mowers because it has 2 blades and it mulches the top one. Also, it doesn't shut off when you go to open a gate. It actually still runs. And then but the mechanism, there's like 3 bars on it. You got to like push down a button and then push the bar forward and then grab the bottom bar to ignite the blades. It's kind of, it's a little complex, but if it's just you and you're not having to train somebody on that, dude, 21, yeah, that thing might work well. What I like about the Toro push mowers is you can literally go down and with one hand you can turn the thing and still have like good quality, and so it's faster and it's way easier because it only has one, like it has the bar that you hold, and then there's a bar underneath it, and all that does is it keeps it running. Like if you pull it all the way up, it goes forward, but then if you like let it halfway down, it stays running. The problem is with that, when you got to go open a gate, it shuts off on you. Um, and then what was the other thing? Oh, when training employees, it's way easier to be like, guys, there's one bar halfway up, starts it full, it makes it go forward for the self-propelled. The other one on the Honda, it was like it took them too long, and like when I'm doing interviews and stuff, I just want it to be simple. Good question. Very good question. All right, Leo Elias. Quick question. If you do an average house and customer asks, hey, can you plant these 5 roses? Do you care extra per plant or leave it as your hourly rate? All right. It's a good question. So I'm assuming in this scenario that the plants are provided by the customer while you're there. So they're basically like, hey, Leo, I've got 5 plants. Next time you're here, can you plant them? In that scenario, I would just do the labor rate. If you are providing the plants and they want an additional service of like, hey, I want you to purchase the plants and install them for me, I would 1000% charge for the material costs on the plant. So let's say the 5 plants are $10 each. So that's $50 that you got to pay for. I would also increase that by 30%. Oh, okay. Here, I got my phone with me. Okay. So $50 plus 30%. And that's just a markup on material. So you would add $15 to that. So it would be $65. So you would buy it for 50 and then you turn around and like sell it for 65. And then, there may be a delivery charge in there, depending on if you go there regularly or you have them in stock. If it takes you 30 minutes, maybe add, 30-minute delivery charge, and then, which would be included in your labor. And then, however long it takes to install, which is probably not too long. But, yeah, good question. I wouldn't if we were on the property and they were providing the plants and they just out of the blue was like, hey, can you install these? I would probably, if it were me and I could do it in like 10 minutes, I probably would just do it. But our crews are trained, because it's not me anymore. In fact, I haven't I haven't mowed a lawn in the last year. Because I've been able to scale the business to where I don't have to. And so we would train our crews that like if there is additional things that they're trying to add to the scope of work, we need to nix that. Like, and not in a way where it's like, hey, sir, ma'am, I would love to. However, on today's visit, I've only got 1 hour to be here, and it's going to take me all this time to like clean this up. So what I can do for you is leave a job note for my manager, and we'll get somebody out here to get you a quote for what that would be. So there's kind of 2 scenarios in that. Depends on if you are like the owner and makes the executive decision, and it's just you out there, or if you have crews and things like that. Good question. Very, very good question. Oh man, I need some water. I need some water right now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm hot. I'm hot. Funny story. I had a cowboy shirt on underneath this actually, and for the video, I got to rep military long cut, so I had to put this hoodie on. So, but everybody knows, football season started this week, so gotta represent. I'm wearing my cowboy shirt, but I'm heating up over here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sweating. All right, Clayton Blunt. Got another question here. Do you think it's possible to go from 10 to 80 customers from season to season? The wife and I are about to have a child, and we are worried my main job plus mowing is too much time away. Okay, so let me so I think what you're asking is basically that you might have too much work in the mowing season. I always tell my people, I'm like, that's actually a good problem to have, because you know what happens when that happens? You can raise prices. All right. It's nice. And so, yeah, I absolutely believe that that's achievable. In fact, we basically did it this year at our second location. So I started off the year, I think, with 12 customers, and we got up to, I think, 71 customers at our second location in Salina. So I do think it's 1000% achievable, with some effort and some good timing for marketing and spring rush. And congratulations on about to have a child. That's super exciting. And yeah, I mean, I would just weigh out the options, man. Like, if your constraint is time and you do work a full job and you only have so many hours in a day on a Saturday to get your lawns in, and let's say your cap is like 20 or 30 lawns that you can do like after work throughout the week or on a Saturday, that's a good thing. That's a very good thing, because you know what happens is, if let's say 30 is your max and you're at 10 right now, and next season you get to 30 and the phone is still ringing, it's middle of spring rush, you know what you do? You go to all of your 30 customers, you send them a text or an email, and you say, look, mowing prices are going up $5 or $10, whatever it is, right? Hey, let's call it $8. All mowing customers per cut, prices going up $8 due to high demand, to provide you with the high level of quality that you deserve. And then you know what's going to happen? Out of those 30 customers, you're going to lose 8 of them. And then you're going to go from 30 to probably 22. But then the phone's going to keep ringing and you're going to still fill those slots in. And then you'll, ideally be around that 30. But yeah, it's a good problem to have when you are at your capacity, because you can raise prices. And that's where it makes sense. If you have a child at home that you obviously want to spend time with, you have a job at work that you work 40 hours of work at or a week at, that you have to give your time and attention to. You only have so many hours outside of work in the evening, and on a Saturday. I say that because we don't work on Sundays. With us being, or me being faith or having faith, stuff like that. We don't like do stuff on Sundays. So for us, that's non-negotiable. We don't work on Sundays. So if you only have Saturdays and after hours on weekdays, then yeah, that's actually kind of a good thing, because you could just keep raising prices. So, all right, guys, we're about at 50 minutes here, and that was the last question. So, Clayton, thanks for your question. Robert, Leo, Mindless Sheep, all of the people that left questions today. Thank you so much, everybody that's watching us live. Thank you for spending your Saturday with me. Bit of a heads up here. So normally we do the mastermind second Saturday of every month. I will not be available next week for everybody, so that's kind of why I jumped on now. But I'm gonna work. Reach out to Caleb, and we're gonna probably see if we can schedule it the following Saturday. So that way we can get your guys' questions answered. So. Yeah, thank you guys so much for spending your Saturday. Hopefully this was helpful. And those of you that are watching at a later time, like the video, helps the algorithm, and we'll see you next time.